Okay.
Well, we were talking about, I think we kind of left off, you'd moved down to San Antonio
Right.
with Dad.
Dad. When Carol was
Right, Carol was
6 months old or
just a
something.
baby. So you
Right.
guys didn't waste much time. But then he was not active duty.
No, he resigned.
Right.
From the
Right.
service.
So he got a job in San Antonio.
Right. He got a job when he was discharged. He went right around to some employment. I don't know whether it was an employment
Right.
office or they were hiring pilots.
Right.
And
So that was Swift,
no, Aerovias Latino Americanos.
and that's when he used to fly down to Costa Rica
Uh-huh.
and that part of the world.
Yeah. And I stayed home with my.
And how long would he be gone?
He'd been gone 3 or 4 days,
3 or 4 days.
and I was lonesome.
All right.
So I left my family behind me, and
Right.
my husband went the other way.
And you didn't have any friends.
I didn't know a soul.
Right.
And as I said, our accommodations weren't the best, but
hmm
they were okay.
That wasn't so important, but being alone was harder.
Yeah, because along with the baby, and I don't know anything about babies.
Right. And you're in a whole different, you're in Texas,
And hot.
and it's hot, and Texas is like a foreign country, almost.
Well, and there was this huge, big home
Right.
in front of us, and
Right.
a cleaning lady down below us
Right.
that cleaned the big house.
So Dad would fly away for 3 or 4 days, and then he'd come home and spend a couple days.
But he was at work. He would, go to work
Right.
at an office.
And then he'd be home on the weekend, or
Yeah,
not
he'd mostly be home on the weekends or something.
Right.
Sometimes he might have to leave on Sundays or something, but mostly.
Right. So what kind of things did you do on the weekend?
Not a whole lot, because
Huh?
you're limited with the baby.
Right.
And
Right. You don't have a lot of money.
that's right.
Yeah.
We did go around and see the city and the sidewalk.
Right.
San Antonio was I'm sure it's beautiful right now because the thing has been developed.
Right.
But
The river area.
the river
Right.
that runs right through the town.
Right.
And
So how long did Dad do that?
not a long time because I got a better job
With who?
with another airline.
With another airline.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And we
Was
moved
that
to-
Swift?
Yeah.
That was
Right.
Swift.
And then we moved to, we were in San Antonio, I have to think, close to a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been a little more than a year. And then we went to St.
Petersburg.
Right.
St. Petersburg. And that's where he worked for Swift.
Right.
And you guys actually lived in St. Pete for, well, how long did that last?
Until I got pregnant with
With Mary.
Mary. And I couldn't handle it.
You had to go home.
I had to go home.
You had to go home. How long so it was another year?
Yeah, at least maybe
Something
a year,
like
year
that.
and a half.
And
something
Dad
like
was
that.
flying.
And Phil's mother came down from Amboy to help us move.
Okay.
And we didn't have a lot of possessions because most every place we lived furnished.
Right.
We had to buy a used baby bed
Right.
once in a while. I mean,
Right.
but other than that,
So that's where Dad kind of fell in love with the idea of living in Florida.
oh, he loved it. But he and I looked at it in two different directions. I mean, he was out seeing the world, and I was home.
Right.
And when we lived in St. Pete,
Well, he had been to Florida before, right? Before he was married? Before the war? Or not?
no, I don't think so.
No? Okay. I never quite...
Yeah, I don't think so. But when he left, when we lived in St. Pete, we'd be gone a week.
He'd be gone a week.
Almost a week. And
Right.
I lived next door to two elderly
Yes.
people that were in their 80s or 90s.
Uh-huh.
One side, and the other side, another two elderly people.
Right.
Nothing in common with me,
Right.
with the baby.
Right.
I was homesick.
And that's a long ways to be. And back then, people just didn't hop and fly back and forth. And
Oh, I'd never been in a plane before, flying from Chicago to Texas.
You flew down.
Flew down.
You flew down.
Well, Dad was already down there.
Okay.
And I never was, I didn't know what the experience was, but I was flying. I mean, the lady beside me, or across the aisle, said,
Right.
I'll hold your baby while you eat. So I ate my dinner or lunch.
Right.
And then she gave me back the baby. And within 2 minutes, I thought, this is not going to stay down.
Oh, gosh.
And I just threw this baby at her
Uh-huh.
across the aisle.
Right.
And the airline stewardess came in, what?
Threw a bag over your face, and there went your lunch.
And there went my lunch. But that's the only one and only time I ever was airsick after
Yeah.
that. And I think it was just the
Oh, the
tension
excitement and nervousness.
and leaving home. And
yeah.
but
And flying was pretty scary, too.
yeah. And then one time I came home with Carol in a cargo plane because it was a free flight.
Mm-hmm.
And the back of the cargo plane, there was a coffin. Your dad kind of tested me. And there was no seats, just kind of back against the
Uh-huh. So you
plane.
were sitting.
The coffin was quite a ways,
Right.
probably way up, in the tail of the.
Right.
But there was 2 other people on the plane flying free,
Right.
and
You're flying with the baby.
a baby.
Right.
And she was pretty good. But we landed in I think it was Dallas before we took off for Chicago, from San Antonio to Dallas, and they kept saying, "Do you want to get off?" And Carol
Yeah.
was just being so good. I said, "No, I'm really fine. I'm here with the baby, and she's fine." They really wanted to let me go to the bathroom, but
Because it was going to be such a long flight.
I didn't.
You didn't think about it.
I
And there's no
didn't think
bathrooms on the plane?
Oh no.
Right.
Well, the pilots had their little tubes, I guess.
Right.
But that was closed off for me.
Right.
And by the time I got to Chicago,
You were in
the
pain.
taillights were, I was in pain, but the taillights were out in the
Right.
plane, and we couldn't land until they
Got them working.
got them working, and we flew around Chicago 2 hours.
Oh, no. That must have been a long
I
trip.
thought I was going to, and my mother and father were meeting at the plane, and we finally landed, and I came down the steps. I just threw that baby at her.
Right. And ran and
Ran.
found a bathroom.
But anyway, that was free. Can't be free.
No, you can't be free. Oh, my God.
But anyway,
So you guys lived in Florida for just a year or two.
about a year and a half.
And
I was really homesick.
then you were ready to go.
I couldn't handle.
You were ready to go. So you picked up and moved back to Dixon.
Drove back. Phil's mother drove down, and
And that's when Dad got into the sign business? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he worked for Dixon Sign then.
No, we worked for a couple other sign companies before they formed their own company.
Mm-hmm.
And can't tell you the names of them now.
So this is like about 1949 or 50?
Oh, Carol. What was before Laura was, or Mary was born, so
Before Mary was
Mary's
born, what
2.5
year?
years apart from Carol.
So this is like about 1948 or so. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we went to Phil's mother's house, but we only stayed there a couple weeks before we rented a house in Dixon.
Were Rosemary and Jack also living there? Mm-hmm. They were. Mm-hmm. Right.
So
So you found a house in Dixon.
rented house
Right.
that was furnished,
Right.
that the lady said we could use because she was going to go see her.
Okay.
And I'm pregnant with
Right.
Mary. But anyway,
But that's where your sisters are and your mother and father are.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got a lot of support now.
Yeah, and my girlfriends and
Right.
everything.
Right.
And then they formed their own sign company, Dad and 3 other men.
Mm-hmm.
And then we purchased a home. We had $700 or $800, and we purchased. Well, you've seen the house on Peoria Avenue, just a block away from where my mom
Okay.
lived.
I know we walked toured the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
just up the corner. And
Right.
but I had Mary. Meanwhile, Mary was delivered in October, and we couldn't move into the house right away because it needed. It was only
Yeah.
100 years old, so
Right.
it needed a lot of repair. But we
Right.
finally moved in, and we slowly did the repair in the snow and ice.
Yeah.
I didn't have a car,
Yeah.
so the car went. But when Mary was she was a tiny baby. She was only about 4 or 5 weeks old. We moved in, and Dad worked 2 jobs. He worked daytime and he worked 3 nights a week playing in a band.
Right.
And
Right.
because we needed the income.
Right.
And he got a call on a
So
Saturday.
Dad always had this artistic ability.
We are right.
Right. So but he'd never been in the sign business ever.
Never.
So he just used his artistic ability and his just natural personality.
Well,
and,
he had gone to art school after
Right.
in Chicago after
Right.
high school.
Right. But he had no experience in the sign business.
Oh,
But
no.
he had enough flexibility and
Yeah.
he could use his design skills. And so
And sell.
Right.
He
and
was
he
a
could sell
soft
things.
sell. Yeah.
Right.
He didn't push, but he could soft sell. He knew what you needed, and he could sketch it out. And
Right.
they'd go home and go back to the office and figure a price, and
Right.
they started making a little money. And
Yeah.
on Saturday night, he was getting ready to go out to play
Right.
in his little band. So I think it was 3 pieces.
Was he playing with Bernie Leake?
No.
Or I mean Ray Leake?
No, he never
No,
played
he
with
wasn't.
Ray.
He never played with Ray, even though Ray was a good musician.
But Ray had his own band.
But he never played professionally with Ray.
No.
Okay.
But anyway, that was a Saturday night, and he got this phone call, and the sign company was burning down.
Oh my gosh.
And it did. And they only had $1,000 worth of insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So we were up a creek.
Yeah.
So he ran out of there, and, they got the fire under control. It was mostly smoke. Well, some of the workers had put their rags, I suppose kerosene or something, and combustion. And
Right. So it was just a fire. It was an accident, and nobody was expecting it, and so that took a while to recover from.
yeah, it did, because we just bought a house.
Right.
And so we had to borrow money. I couldn't borrow from my folks. My folks had 2 kids, Bob and Ann, at home. Phil's
Right.
mother had been a widow. She
Right.
was
So you
20.
had to get a little bank loan.
No, we borrowed $1,000 from Aunt Mady,
Yeah.
and we paid her $30 a month until,
So you paid it off.
and when we got to the last payment, we wanted to give her interest.
Right.
She wouldn't make money off her relatives,
Right.
but we ate a lot of macaroni and spaghetti.
Right. So those were lean times. But you've been through lean times before.
Right. And
Right.
everything was used. No
Right.
matter what. And of course, I didn't have, as I said, I didn't have a car till we moved to St. Louis. And we were married 10 years.
hmm
And Dad got a company car.
You could drive, but
I
you
could
didn't
drive,
have
but-
you didn't have your own car.
Yeah, I didn't have my own car.
Right.
So it was, but a lot of my friends, we'd take the babies walking in the strollers
Right.
together.
And most women back then didn't have jobs.
No,
Mothers especially. Unless they had to work.
right.
Right. So you weren't in an unusual position.
No.
Right.
Some of us were poorer than others, but
Right.
that was all right.
Right. So you had your friends and you had some support. And you had your girlfriends who were mothers of their own by now.
Yeah, I had 2 girlfriends that were just within maybe 6, 8 blocks from me. And for 2 or 3 times a week, we'd take the babies out.
Right. So it wasn't really bad times.
No, bad times it wasn't. They were
Right.
happy times.
Right.
You made do with very little,
Right.
and you enjoyed it.
And you believed in the future, probably.
Well, you did. You knew things were going to get better,
Right.
and eventually they did.
You were young.
And then Dad got this. Then they formed their own sign. They moved.
Right.
And they had the Dixon Sign Company was in operation. I want to say about 4 years
Yeah.
before Dad. It wasn't making enough money for four families.
Right.
Although, so he was on the lookout for a better job,
Right.
and he was interviewed and was up in Chicago at Federal Brilliant.
Federal sign.
Yeah, Brilliant Sign Company.
Yeah.
The big corporation.
Right.
And he was offered the job in St. Louis.
In St. Louis. And so that's when
He
you moved.
sold his portion of the Dixon Sign
Right.
Company to his partners,
Right.
and we moved to St. Louis.
And somewhere along the line, John came along.
John was born in Ferguson.
No, he wasn't. He was born in Illinois, wasn't he?
Mm-mm.
He was born in Ferguson?
No, was it you?
I was born in
Oh,
Ferguson.
you were born, yeah. Yeah, John, yeah.
John was
That's
born in
three.
Illinois,
Right.
but he was too young to remember.
Yeah, he was probably only about 2.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. So you had 2 girls, and then you had
little boy.
a little boy.
And this house that we moved to, St. Louis, was a spec. It was just a bungalow, but
The one in Ferguson.
it wasn't filled in. It was new, and it hadn't even been finished. The outside, they hadn't filled in around the foundation, so I couldn't even let you kids. The 3 I had, I couldn't
Yeah.
let them out to play
Yeah.
because it could have fallen
Yeah.
into the foundation. That was a hard winter, and we moved December 1st.
And that was maybe 1950 or 51.
I'd have to figure it out.
Okay.
And
But somewhere, it was
but I was
not too far.
homesick again.
Yeah.
Christmas
But you
time.
weren't horribly far away.
No, about
Right.
5 6 hours.
Right.
That's all it was. So at Christmas time, the tears were just falling every time I turned
Right.
around. So Phil said, "Okay, we'll get up tomorrow morning, Christmas Day,
Mm-hmm.
went to 5:30 mass with 3 little kids,
Right.
and went to Illinois
So you drove up there, you got there
at noon.
at noon and surprised everybody.
Yeah, had dinner, got back in the car.
Yeah. But that was nice.
It's kind of crazy when you think
It's
about
kind of crazy, but not that crazy. And
it. I guess he just couldn't handle me being so
well,
homesick.
and then I'm sure everybody was thrilled when you guys showed up.
Well, we were
So did you
thrilled.
go see both families?
Oh, yeah.
So you went from one home to another home, and you ate and
Got back
you
in the
got
car.
treated like royalty for an hour or 2.
Well, we probably were there for about 4 or 5 hours because
Right.
we didn't get back until.
Well, an hour or 2
Ferguson.
at each home.
Right.
Right. And then you jumped in the car.
Because
And,
no one knew that we were coming.
right. But,
But it helped me get over the
yeah.
blues. And I
Yeah.
thought, and then Carol had to go to school. She was in 1st grade
Okay.
by then. And she was my little, well, I guess it was probably hard for her too, because she went from the school in Dixon was like from here to the lake.
Right.
She could look out and see her mother, and we'd wave.
Right.
And then we moved to Ferguson, which was 14 blocks, 12 or
Right.
14 blocks,
Right.
and we had to walk. So we
Right.
walked 3 kids,
So you'd get all the kids would get up, and you'd put one of them in the carriage,
the baby in the stroller,
and then everybody'd hold hands and walk.
and we walked to school. And that's when Carol would get so upset with her tummy, because then I'd leave her.
Yeah.
Then I'd have to go back at 3 o'clock and
And she was going to Catholic school.
yeah, St. John and James.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that I did it for a long time, but that's how I ran into the Zinies. Rosemary Zini was walking her 5 kids.
Yeah.
Kathy was the oldest, so Kathy was the same age as Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to walk. They only lived a block and a half away from us.
Right.
But after you see this trail, baby
Right.
kids walking their kids to school.
So pretty soon you guys were walking to school together.
And then we became friends, and then
Yeah.
she said, "Come on and have a cup of coffee." So I
Right.
did, and all the kids did. Or then the next day or two,
Uh-huh.
I said, well, come on in and have coffee with me. So they all came in and had coffee
Uh-huh.
with me. And we became really good friends.
Right.
And that's really how I met the Hundelts, the Zenies, the Putmans,
Mm-hmm.
which they're mostly all deceased now. I think
Right.
Carolyn Hundelt might be the only one living.
Yeah.
And but
I remember some of those people.
yeah,
Some of them, the Zenies we camped with, right?
we camped with the Putmans, not the Putmans, but the Petersons, the
Yeah.
Hundelts,
And the Zenies.
Zenies, yeah.
And the Zenies.
Yes.
The four families
4 families.
would go together.
And
Right.
they had a boy about your age, no, about Paul's, John's age.
Probably. I remember, was there
Well,
a
they had-
Raymond Putman? I seem to remember a
There was
boy.
Ray Dussel,
All
but
right.
the Dussels never camped with us.
Okay. No, as I remember, there was nobody my age when we were camping
No,
together.
there was somebody John's age,
Right.
and my girls wouldn't go, the older girls. But Mr. Zini, Chuck, was
Yeah.
just he'd get up every morning like at 5 o'clock and fix the whole 14, 15 of us pancakes and
Yeah.
bacon. And
I remember
sausage.
those camping trips.
Yeah.
I remember those camping
Yeah.
trips.
I was the only one with the baby.
The baby would have been John.
No, Laura.
Oh, this is in the 60s. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is some years later.
Well, I kept having another one.
Right.
They all quit.
Right, but we've moved along in time.
Okay. Well, I
time
didn't
there.
know. But
Yeah.
we were 10 years, I think, in Ferguson,
And then same house.
same house.
Same house.
And then we built our house in Lake County Court, and we were there 11.
Yeah. And of course, you know, I know you've been in Florida all these many years, longer than anywhere.
Oh, yeah, longer.
And
37 years.
that's hard to believe. Because I never thought of Florida as home.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me after Dad died, would you go back to Dixon? I said, no. My children are here. This is my home.
Right.
And that's the first time I said that
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
And I still consider Dixon my home.
Is that right?
Yeah, I guess it's just because that's where I was born and raised, and all my relatives are there.
Right.
And Phil's sister, of course, she's long gone, but we had a really nice relationship with Rosemary and Jack. And we took vacations together.
Without the kids. Without
Like for
the kids.
about 3 or 4 days, we'd get
Right.
away. And
Right. And what Carol and Mary would babysit.
yeah, and then Jewel would make sure
She'd check on Carol and Mary.
that they weren't getting away with anything.
Right. Yeah, little did you know.
Well, I know it, but if Ralph would see a boy come down the street or 2 boys come down the street, he was across the street like lightning.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure they got away with a lot, but
Well, knowing them, I'm sure they didn't try too much.
well,
I mean,
they were good people.
yeah.
And, you know, my family was their family because they didn't have any.
Yeah.
And they thought the world of all of you. And
Yeah, well, like I say,
I know you kids
we
didn't
had to be friends with them because you were friends with them. So
right. And so were the Westberries.
you like the Westberries?
Oh, I
Did you?
Yeah, especially liked her,
Shirley.
Shirley.
Yeah. We all liked her. She was,
She was-
as I said in my blog, she was the prettiest mom in the neighborhood, except for my own mom.
Well, sure, she was pretty though. She was gorgeous.
She was pretty. And she was friendly and
And I remember, I don't think Laura turned 3 or 4, I don't know, and had a little birthday party for her, and she said, don't make the cake, I want to make a special cake for her. So she made a gingerbread cake, and it was beautiful. Must have taken her hours,
yeah,
but she just loved doing that.
yeah.
And then
We spent a lot of time in their basement.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We had our gang, and Jim was the recognized leader.
Well, yeah,
Of
he
the
was the
gang.
oldest. wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was a good guy.
Yeah, I think he must have been. I think he was kind of a gentle big guy.
He was, because he wasn't a bully. He was bigger than us, and he could have ordered us around. But he never did. And he'd break up fights, and, you know, I don't know. I mean, he just had that natural quality to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't resent younger, he was maybe only 2 years older than me, but
2 or 3, yeah.
But
Susie,
he did.
Susie was the same age as you.
Was she? Okay. But he never, I mean, we never thought about him that way. We all looked up to him.
He was the leader.
We did all look up to him. Yeah. We had our gang. It was Jerry Oliver and myself, and then with Bob Hucker, and then there came the Holtz, and
The Holtz didn't quite fit in.
not quite.
I mean,
And-
you allowed them in once in a while.
Yeah,
But that was kids.
That was kids. They were okay, but that whole family was a little different than what we were used to.
Their father was a
Yeah, he was a
pistol.
tyrant.
Right.
He was a tyrant. But and I'm sure there were other kids, and like you say, we just roamed the neighborhood.
And with not a thought, not
Nobody.
a word.
We'd leave in the morning, and we'd show up before dark.
And I often recall Laura. Of course, she was the only baby born in those three streets. And they all just wanted Laura to stay at their house. And even, not Shirley, the Schwartzes